Good.
You're on. Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. We just got the last person to sign on for our quorum, so we will get our meeting started. Everybody's virtual except John and I are in the room, so we will hold down the fort here. We'll start with attendance, and Dorothy, start us off in the corner, please.
Dorothy Banaszewski, Facilities Construction.
Carla Armstrong, intern for the legal department. Shania Grab, another intern for the legal department.
Holly Holland, Office of the General Counsel.
Michael Tubiolo, Facilities Construction.
Dave Dolan, Facilities Management.
David Porter, CORC.
Barbara Myers, Construction Purchasing.
John Cheshire, CORC.
Over here in the corner.
Michael O'Neill, Proctor Construction.
John Levinson, Rail Enterprises, representing Zaskovich Architects and Wharton Smith General Contracts.
James Campbell, Chief Operating Officer.
Buck List, Office of Inspector General.
Joe Garcia, Facilities Construction.
Ben Gonell with Purtle Construction.
Jacob Katz, Purtle Construction.
James Farrell, Facilities Construction.
Sam Ferrari, PGL Architects.
Roby Durrell, Moss and Associates.
Aaron Howard, Facilities Construction.
Okay, that's everyone in the room, and I guess we already know who's online.
Sam
right?
Shannon, CORC.
Okay, Sam.
Sam showed up. We have Lou Doctor,
Lou Doctor, CORC.
Okay.
Michael Galfand,
Present.
Michael Guida,
Here.
Chadwick McCoy,
Here.
and Virginia Ferris.
Good morning.
Okay. Very nice.
Very early morning.
Yeah, very early morning there.
Very early, very beautiful, 62 degrees.
Oh, be quiet.
Oh, geez. 162 here.
Yeah. Okay, I have nothing to report, so anyone with a conflict of interest for anything today? All right, not hearing anyone with a conflict for what we're going over. CORC report. Lou, you can graciously do our report again?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Staff updates.
Dorothy, do you have anything? Okay. Well, my general comments, I'll keep it as short as I can. Quite a busy time. I joked with Mr. Porter, if there was one meeting I'd like to cancel each year, it might be this one, because you'll notice there's a line of people here in our room along the sides. None of them should be here right now because they should be out building our schools and opening our schools. I got a high school and a middle school that need to be open in a couple of weeks. So, in all seriousness, we do have a lot of work going on. What I wanted to do was thank my staff, the district staff, and our ACOM support team. The amount of work that they have put in over the last, let's say, 2 months. The summer's absolutely been insane. They've managed to keep all the projects moving. We have some critical deadlines, and as is always the case, there's a ton of emergencies. Let me tell you how many things have broken on schools over summer and have to be repaired and replaced and be done by August 10th or sooner. So I know each and every one of my staff members, both from construction and building department and the maintenance department, they all need a break. They all need a vacation. But I do want to thank them sincerely from the bottom of my heart. The amount of work that they put in to make sure that we're getting ourselves ready for school has been monumental. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the chair.
1 month until school opening?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
And how soon until teachers move? 2 weeks?
Yeah, basically beginning of August.
Wow. Okay.
And there's all sorts of other challenges because the bulk of them, and some of you are all, maybe some of you may be husbands of teachers, but you all know that, yeah, you might be building the school, but you will be taking those 2 days to help your wife bring the classroom stuff in there. I know Angel, that's always been a favorite of his, is that, so yeah, they have a lot of work getting themselves ready. So we have to make sure we're good, done, out of the way.
With a new school, you have to show them where the bathrooms are. Okay. Any questions for Dave and staff for updates? Okay, we will go down now to public comments. Any public comments? Nice and quiet as usual. No public comments. All right. Let's go to a consent agenda. FC1,
Yes.
wanted it pulled, I wanted it pulled. Anyone online? Okay. FC2. FC3. FC4. FC5. FC6. FC7. FC8. I wanted that pulled.
FC8.
John wanted it pulled.
Can I also interject? These, let's see, FC7 and FC8 were, these are our late add-ons. Isn't that the,
It's West Boynton is FC7 and FC8 is the high school.
okay. Then we have, I can't remember, we might have FC9 and FC10 that are not on here. They are late adds for good cause.
When were they posted or were they not posted?
They were posted for good cause.
Dorothy's saying they haven't been posted.
It hasn't been posted on the CORC agenda. It's been posted on the board agenda.
Agenda. They were last minute add-ons. They are the bill of sale and the utility easement for water utilities for both the middle school and the high school project. So there's not a whole lot for review, but they
All right,
were
well,
added as last minute.
Okay, well,
good cause.
I guess we're pulling both of them because they need to be presented and discussed. I mean, we don't know anything about them except what you just told us. So they need to be brought forward now publicly because we haven't had a chance to look at any of it. So we can't just tell the board, yep, they're fine. Without you
That's why I'm
showing
bringing it
us.
to your attention
Right.
as we speak.
So we're going to do FC9 and FC10.
I think that's what it wants.
Well, we already have an FC8, so they must have been 9 and 10.
And they're on our board agenda, the board agenda for new business because they're added for good cause have to.
Well, that's fine. They just need to be added to our agenda now so we can be told about them and discussed. So, all right, PC1, PC2, PC3, PC4, PC5, PC6, and PC7. All right, Virginia, we'll let you do your customary motion.
Move the unpulled items on consent agenda to be moved and forward.
All right, need a second?
Second.
Second by Sam. All right, Dorothy, poll us, please.
All right, David Porter,
Yes.
John Cheshire,
Yes.
Ken Lassiter. Joined us. Ken? Lou Doctor,
Yes.
Michael Gelfand. Michael? Michael Guida,
Yes.
Sam Shannon,
Yes.
Chadwick McCoy,
Yes.
Virginia Ferris.
Yes.
John, you and I had pulled FC1. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question was on item number 12. This is the additional design services to provide isolation valves to the gas piping system. Can I ask how many valves there were added?
I don't know the exact number of valves.
I had an issue with the $13,000 for engineering services just to either write a field bulletin or if you're going to show the valves on the drawings, how many valves they added for $13,000. In his backup for the hours, he included a I forget how many hours for a report generation. Did you guys get a report on adding these isolation valves?
I know that they're part of the fees, the construction administration with that. They did have to do some study, in-depth study of the system. It's several systems in one. It's just not one as part of it. So it's lumped together, but it's the generators, the water heaters, it's the kitchen stuff that they had to study. So.
And there was engineering time. Don't know what that would be for. Engineer usually has a standard spec for gas valves.
So this is stuff that they didn't plan on doing. It wasn't really part of the project, but they went in there and noticed there were some deficiencies and it wasn't working. There wasn't shut-off valves. So they had to go in and get a lot of data and do some back engineering to figure out what they were doing was correct. We did send it through the Fair and Reasonable, and they checked the hours and verified it and looked about right. So
you don't know how many valves they added to the drawings?
There was multiple. I don't know exactly how many.
Would you guess 5, a dozen, 100?
No, it wasn't 100. It was a handful, not a dozen. Yeah.
All right, that's my only comment. That seems ridiculous.
Yeah, on the surface, I think it would. I think if we knew more of the you know, the day-to-day details of what had to be done, then it might seem a little more reasonable. I agree. You know, even if it was $1,000 a valve, that would be 13 valves. Anyway, I had also pulled this for a couple comments. One, most of them general. I noticed on a number of these, we're stating that the as-built drawings weren't accurate, weren't correct. I've been on CORC now 22 years, I think, and this comes up like every other month where we're constantly blaming the as-builts, and I'm not saying that the as-builts are correct, but if we don't have a good process to make sure our as-builts going forward are as detailed as we need them to be, then we need a better process. I know these are probably as-builts from 20, 30 years ago, maybe, but somehow I think as a lesson learned, we need to have a procedure both for the architects and the CMs to make sure that we get back a very good detailed set of as-builts. I've argued before, even when pipes go underground, somebody needs to tape measure them from a corner of a building and mark that dimension on a drawing so we're not out there randomly poking down into the ground and it's over 3 feet. So do we have a process now?
We do, and our process is extensive. Our contractors do a full markup. They're transferred into CAD, so it's put into a final product that's delivered to the building department, keeps record of that. So it's not just a hand drawn even, it's actually put into CAD and documented that way as the final as-built.
Okay.
It's through the building department, or building department upstairs, but yeah, it's very extensive now.
Does the building department or the SPA kind of verify what's been marked up and it's adequate enough and sufficient enough?
It goes through the contractor, the architect, and the SPA. So it's three levels of looking at it, yeah. Okay. It's part of the closeout process.
Yeah, it should be architects, CA, field verified.
Okay.
And they make sure that all the, RFIs and all the things are into that package, so it's one, so there's not stuff floating around that's not included.
And that's good for that portion. Oftentimes the challenges are, there are actions that go on at schools long after the completion of the construction. You mentioned the 20, 30 years ago. Yeah, there might have been maintenance work that went to those schools over the years. Items have been replaced. Valves have been taken out of service and alternate systems included. We've had a very extensive maintenance department program to work on, especially if we're dealing with like HVAC and electric and whatnot. A lot of those things, they change dramatically. So oftentimes the question might be, do update the as-built?
That was going to be my next
question. I know where you were going. That's why I figured I'd rather rip the Band-Aid off and have the discussion that, yeah, that's probably one of the bigger challenges. And it's a challenge that this district probably has dealt with for years and will continue to deal with. The guys that are in place now, like the workers, the maintenance guys, the maintenance technicians, they're great. But eventually they'll retire. Yeah. Who's going to remember where all that stuff went and put it in and whatnot? So, that's one of the bigger challenges in the long term.
Well, during Mr. Sanchez's first stint, Tri-Rigger was purchased, And Tri-Riga was meant to be the end-all system that all field orders, changes, pumps, motors could be replaced, and you could hit a button and know when it was. So if that's not going to be used for Tri-Riga, then we somehow need to bring maintenance into the loop to keep updated plans because, I mean, it's fixable.
Yep.
And
We agree. We agree. And it is certainly on our radar. And I don't want to speak for Mr. Sanchez, but I know that it's a big issue for us, is making sure that Tri-Riga works. And if Tri-Riga isn't working the way we expected, is there something else that we need to do?
that doesn't even have to be Tri-Riga. I mean, I thought that might be overkill anyway,
But whatever it is, what we're looking back at how we go about making these changes. The good news is the changes we do nowadays are being incorporated into the overall system management, our maintenance department. It's just a question of, through Tri-Riga, it's just a question of how much detail, what kind of triggers are being assigned. Because ultimately that's where we want to be is we've installed everything and we're keeping track of the ages and preventative maintenance timelines for every piece of equipment. So we're getting there. We are working through that. It's just taking the school district time, and everything we've done now has been kept good.
So maintenance does update somehow, so that if you gave an architect a set of drawings and said, here's the as-built, it would include maintenance data for when they started keeping it on that same school.
Correct. Now,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah, now.
because Tri-Riga right now, maintenance does work orders through Tri-Riga.
Okay, so they are using it.
Yeah, they're buying parts and parts being replenished. So it's working. It may not be working 100% perfectly, but it has been implemented and we're working towards that. So hopefully, I know I've seen one of my architects in the room has certainly got feedback on it, but we're working to make sure that in the future that the information they get is not just the as-builts from 30 years ago, but the changes we've done recently.
Okay,
incremental changes.
that's all I wanted to see. Michael Gelfand.
So I appreciate the explanation, but I do not understand what threshold staff have in updating aspects. I hear it's aspirational, but specifically, what is the threshold to get stuff?
I didn't hear
Michael,
that.
you were garbled and cutting in and out there with your verbal.
As a thing, I appreciate the explanation, but I still don't understand what is the specific direction to staff for updating as-built? What is the threshold today?
Well, we're updating as we speak. As maintenance staff goes out and works on things, we're updating the system accordingly. Tri-Riga is working the way we had expected. The challenge is what happened over the last 15 years or whatnot. Some of those changes we have not been able to see incorporated into, as you were saying, either as-built or some other work order tracking system to say, well, here's the as-built and here's all the other changes subsequent to those as-built.
So when it goes into Tri-Riga, that then automatically updates the as-built file and some type of notation, for example, on the HVAC plans that says, we've moved these valves from building 1 to outside building 2, or whatever it may be.
He's asking if it automatically updates the as-built. No.
No, the as-built are a snapshot in time at the time the school was constructed. Those rarely get physically adjusted over the years. Maintenance might go in and mark it up. But basically, when we're working on a project and we ask our architects to come in and get the as-built, we give them the as-built and we're supposed to be giving them all the Tri-Riga work orders. Now, the Tri-Riga work orders for the last, 6, 8, 10 years since Tri-Riga was implemented are there. So they are getting to see those. Or things done before then. That's where I think Mr. Porter is referring to the expectation of our architects doing a more thorough site eval once you have the as-built to make sure that what you see is what's on paper.
Michael, I brought it up because we're currently taking care of the problem. but 20 years ago it wasn't taken care of. So when we're giving an architect what we call as-built, there's a lot of stuff that's not really as-built that way because it may have been changed in the last 20 years by maintenance that didn't document it.
And I'm almost embarrassed to say, when I was here 20 years ago.
Yeah, me too.
And this was one of the problems that was supposedly resolved at that time. For the older schools, we should be able to pull, for example, if not the actual work orders, at least some documentation of contracts and payments that we made that we can pass on to the architects. Is that possible?
It's certainly possible. It's an extensive process, but you're right. It's always possible. There is a track record of things that happened in the past that may not be recorded in Tri-Riga, but yeah, it's and we do this on furniture. Ms. Evans, and we often do that. We'll go back and look at the requisitions to see what furniture was purchased, so we know when was the last time this stuff was done. So it is possible. It's not often done, but if it's okay, can I ask Mr. Sanchez? I see his hand is raised, and I don't want to characterize things he may wish to.
Mr. Sanchez, go ahead.
So the only thing I was going to add is that what I see as a big challenge is the staffing. We just haven't had the staffing to keep all the updates, all the as-built updated whenever necessary. Our maintenance staff has been decimated tremendously over the years, and we haven't been able to hire an architect, a district architect, or anybody in that position for a while. So it's, Tri-Riga can do a lot of stuff, and we can do a lot of stuff. We have software that can, we have CAD and all that kind of stuff, but without the people that are dedicated to doing that, it just things kind of fall between the cracks. That's not an excuse. I'm just saying that's the reality of the situation. We just don't have the staff to keep things up to date, but we need to try to do better if we can.
Is that something we should be pointing out to the school board?
Sorry.
The school board, they'll fund the positions. We just can't find people.
Yeah. Yep. Blue Doctor.
Yeah, are we talking FC 13 or 12?
Oh, we're on one.
We're on FC1, and I brought that up because one of the comment replies was
No. That's not what I'm saying. FC1 is it number 12 or number 13?
12.
12. Let me make a comment. This whole conversation would help if somebody told me when this high school was originally built. I've been on CORC for 25 years, and I don't know if it was built. And the ground rules today certainly don't apply to what was going on 25 years ago.
Right. No, I'm acknowledging that as well, Lou, that these as-built that the architect would have been provided would have been under whatever was done 30 years ago, 40 years ago, whenever the school was built. And we're just talking about the process to try to keep things up to date when maintenance goes out over a 30-year period of a school and changes something, somehow that needs to be updated. So that's just what the conversation was about.
We should be moving on.
Okay, I'll do that. Tom Berger.
I just wanted to make sure you guys knew I was here.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
I'll make a motion that CORC has no objection to FC1 being by the board except for item 12.
Okay, why item 12? Just because I brought it up only for a discussion, not to deny it.
That was the, unless I have my numbers wrong, that was the one with the valves where we don't know how many valves were put in, and it was a seemingly large expense.
If you want your motion to have that caveat, you're welcome to do that.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Do I have a second on that? Hearing no second.
What was his comment?
except approving number 12 on the contingency because of the valve and the extra fee charge. Okay, no second. I guess what, do I entertain an alternate motion then?
I move it, that FC1 goes forward.
Second.
All right, any comments, discussion? Okay, Dorothy, poll us, please.
All right, David Porter,
Yes.
Frank Simon, John Cheshire,
Yes.
Ken Lassiter, Lou Doctor,
Yes.
Michael Gelfand.
No,
Was that a no?
That's a no.
that's a no.
Thank you. Michael Guida,
Yes.
Sam Shannon,
Yes.
Tom Berger.
I have to abstain. I was not here for the whole comment.
Okay. Chadrick McCoy,
Yes.
Virginia Ferris.
Yes.
All right, going back to Frank Simon, are you there? Nope. Ken Lassiter? No, okay.
Okay, that takes care of no, we're down to FC 8. John, you pulled it and I pulled it. Sure.
Yeah, I had several questions on this, and I don't feel like I got answers to most of my questions, let's say. So we're going to have to discuss it again. The justification for the change order says this is as part of the school district's initiative. And I asked more about what that meant. And it was just said the initiative was discussed with the board during the capital plan workshops and was endorsed by the board. I wonder if I can get some more information on what the discussions were and.
It's generally about replacing all of the grass fields with turf going forward. So any new school would have it, high schools only. And then any existing schools, we have a program in the capital plan to go back and replace those with turf over the years. It's not an urgent high priority. So there's things like roofing and stuff that are taking place, but we do have it planned out to go back to every one of those schools and replace it. There are some schools that are working with municipalities that are putting up some of the money, and that's pushing some of these forward. In this case, it was in the middle of construction, so we were able to change order it in to get that work done because eventually we would do it anyway. So it was actually going to save some money.
The intent of avoiding spending, putting the turf down, putting down grass.
Sure.
And then in 5 years, having to rip it out and change out the entire drainage system and whatnot. All those expenses, we were trying to make sure that there was an opportunity for savings.
That capital plan lays out all the initiatives for the board, and then they approve that plan, and then it goes into our budget. So
Was there any discussion specifically with the board about artificial turf?
it was a specific item on there, yes.
Yeah.
But discussion.
I don't know if they had any comments. Maybe Leanne or Joe, or were you in that meeting where it was spent? I wasn't.
Yeah, well, it was brought up, whether or not the board members, there were no disapprovals, there were no disagreements, there were no denials of that particular line item. I think Mr. Sanchez is on as well. He could weigh in that the board in our workshopping for our capital plan were in support of artificial turf.
Yeah. If the question is were they asking any questions about the benefits and the disadvantages or advantages of artificial turf? No, there wasn't that discussion this time around. I mean, I think that we've had that discussion with the board in the past, and they're in agreement that it makes sense. So there wasn't that discussion, but the general consensus from the board members is that this is an upgrade. It improves us. It gives us an opportunity to compete with, private and public schools as well. So that's private in charter schools. So it's that discussion is taking place, but not weighing the benefits of artificial turf versus natural turf.
Okay, the other issue I have with this is that this is $1.4 million, non-bid, sole source, sole provider. And the reason for that is time. But when was this initiative with the board? It must have been a long time ago. Plus, well,
our capital plan has gone to the board every, let's say, other month or every 3 months.
all right.
Since the beginning of the new year. And I think it was, I can't remember which one we provided you, but the slide was in, I think it was the April workshop with the board. So it is new to the board's discussions. It's not something that's been in the works for months or years, but certainly the intention.
Well, I was told in one of my answers, it's been at least 6 months that at this high school anyway, it was talked about replacing it. I had asked the vendor for a rough order of magnitude. Why couldn't you go out and get bids from other vendors or rough order of magnitude at that time? 6 months ago? Nope.
Yeah, I know. I don't know about the 6 months, but I can tell you my discussion with Mr. Burke was, as you know, confirmed with Dave says, as recent as April probably. I think was when, you know, he asked me, can we still get it done before school starts? And I checked with Dave, and I'm sure Dave checked with the contractors and others, and that's when they came back and said, yeah, if we make a decision right away, we can get it done before school opens. So if it was reported 6 months ago, that's the decision may have been had about artificial turf in general, because this wasn't the first or the most recent or the only school that we talked about artificial turf with. We talked about I think it was Forest Hill High School and Suncoast High School, because neither one of those schools have practice fields. So we've been talking about those schools for longer than before April. But it was only made a decision about Garcia probably April May timeframe was when we made the decision about that school.
Well, there's as part of the backup for the price, one of the subcontractors, I can't remember which one it was, irrigation said, here's my credit to delete the irrigation at the high school in anticipation of putting in artificial turf. And that was dated in February.
Yeah, I can answer that. So that there was discussions early on that that's the way they were going to go. And so that they proceeded getting ready for that work, getting all the stuff in line.
Yeah.
And then it had to go to the board. Yes, it's going forward. So the discussions have started even years ago before I even got here that eventually we'd be going to turf, but it wasn't finalized.
When we experienced our Wellington High School change a couple of years ago, that was well received, and it was certainly appreciated, especially I think during COVID. We were using the 3 high schools when they had artificial turf, and you could play on them more frequently because you could have 2 and 3 games a weekend on those fields. And it was recognized that was certainly an advantage. And as Mr. Sanchez said, one of the points of reasoning was we are in fact in a desperate competition with charter schools, private schools, et cetera. So we need to try to make sure that we do our best to put our best foot forward.
Yeah, I appreciate all that. And I'm not necessarily objecting to artificial turf. My issue mostly here today is the cost, the non-competitive bid. You had a statement that, or PGAL provided a statement that the price is fair and reasonable. AECom said the same thing. And I asked for the backup, the methodology that was used by both of those firms. And I got nothing other than a sentence that AECom did some math, took the square foot of the field, multiplied it times or divided it by the total price, came up with a cost per square foot and said, yep, that's fair and reasonable. $1.4 million. I can't approve this. I have no idea if that's a good number or not. No idea at all. So I'm not going to be voting for this.
Lou Doctor, I think you had your hand up first. You muted?
He's muted.
Hold on, Lou, you're muted.
I had one other comment, David, if I could, in the meantime, while we're waiting, or?
Yeah, go ahead. Unmute yourself and then we'll get to you.
I don't see a field bulletin or specifications associated with this either. We're just relying on the sole source vendor to give us whatever he wants. Very unusual.
Boo, you're up. Can you unmute yourself? We can't hear you. You're muted. I don't know why. Michael Gelfand, go ahead.
I'm pretty sure we have a specification though.
I can understand the desire to have this as a spec, the artificial synthetic turf. What comparative value analysis was there for the fields that have it installed? Maybe I should ask the first question. Was there a comparative analysis undertaken as to this bid as opposed to the actual cost for installation at other high school?
Did we look at this one versus what? I guess
It is the same vendor. It's the same vendor. That's why the specification is.
Well, I think when we did Boca and we did Jupiter, I think that's also Field Turf, which is the same brand.
And I think, Mr. Doctor, can you speak, Mr. Doctor?
Lou, can we hear you? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, now we can.
On FC1, we had a negative vote. When I report that to the board, I have to explain the reason for the negative vote, and I didn't hear any.
We'll come back to that one, Lou. Thank you. Good.
So getting back to this, the question is, was there a analysis as to the expense for this as opposed to the expense for other high schools where this has been installed?
Yeah, I guess did we just look at Wellington and say, okay, that was a couple years ago and it cost us X dollars and now we got inflation and this one.
They have a database that they use live data that takes all the government entity pricing from the South Florida region and indexes, and they compare it with that. So it's not just taking old data and guessing the escalation on it.
We've recently returfed Boca High School's field as well.
Who is they?
AECOM, they have a cost estimating department. An individual, Keith, leads it, but then they have other estimators that check all the information.
And where is that analysis?
We can get that for you for what they did.
Yeah, I mean, I've got with the prior comment. You know, we've been talking about the desire to move forward on speed and all, but one of the processes of public reviews and committees such as this is we deliberately slow things down. I mean, this is not like a private entity that just makes a decision step, because a private entity has no accountability to anyone. And $1 million no bid doesn't work. Thank you.
Okay, I had pulled this also, and mine was more for kind of a general comment. If the board's direction is to go with artificial turf for other schools, will we kind of be doing a spec research on kind of performance and costs to determine, and then I guess we would determine the brand, and let's say it's Field Turf, which is one brand, what we put in here, but then there's probably multiple vendors that sell Field Turf, maybe?
Yeah, and I don't know that we've necessarily settled that this will be the brand.
Right.
We're looking at multiple brands, and hopefully we can keep it competitive with the turf and have multiple brands bid on each project. You know, that would be the ideal situation where we're not locked in, because they have very similar systems, and we want a good quality turf that's going to last. So we want to eliminate the ones that aren't going to last as well as part of that.
So that is the goal going forward.
Yeah. That'll be part of our minor projects program. So that'll be a separate initiative where we go out and prioritize the schools and get a spec together and bid each one out separately. Yeah.
Okay. And will that, I guess,
not as the minor projects.
Well, I think as an artificial turf issue, once that study is done, I think that should come to CORC to actually help you make, to validate that decision. I mean, right now you're hearing single, sole source.
Yeah.
So I think if you come back to us going, look, here's the 5 brands we looked at, here's the cost, here's the plus and minuses, here's the injury rate and all that stuff, whatever's being assessed.
Yeah, we can certainly.
I would think that should come back to CORC to say, yeah, we like what you did and go with this brand or whatever. Sure. Or go with these 2 brands, however you narrow it down and make a recommendation. Okay. Michael, you had a comment?
Couple of follow-up points. I think, Dave, those are excellent ideas. How many synthetic turf high school have we done?
We have 3 high school football fields. Jupiter is a different one than I think Boca and Wellington are the same.
Second thing is with reference to the criteria we're looking at, understand, of course, longevity, installation, maintenance issues are high items. What is being looked at as to the impact on the players themselves? Because I know that early development there were issues with leg injuries. Are we looking at that also to make certain that this is good for the players?
I know there's some national studies done and following being in the business that they've made tremendous progress with this along the way. I don't have the data in front of me, but we can certainly get that for you, but it's not the old AstroTurfs like we used to play on that was basically concrete with a carpet on it. These are, they have a good couple inches of rubberized base underneath the turf that they play on and underneath the stabilized subgrade. So we can provide some information on that, but.
Yeah, I mean, it'll surprise everyone, I'm certain, if I told everyone that I was not a Heisman Trophy finalist. So my expertise in this area is not that significant. So what I'll be looking at is staff understanding if there are differences between them, the different providers, and what impact, if there is an adverse impact on the players.
Certainly would weigh in on a decision-making process, absolutely.
Michael, probably, I'm going to say maybe 15 years ago, Mr. Sanchez had organized a committee through the building department. I was on that committee representing CORC to study artificial turf to replace, it was actually, I think, for the Boca Field when that had come up. And we went through all the research, different types of turf, base levels, injury rates, to narrow it down to the field turf product that ended up getting installed, which is the same product that's being proposed here. So I'm not saying that research from 15 years ago worked, but there was a process, and hopefully the district will go through the same process with staff. The one thing I found almost comical in here is that artificial turf is considered impervious by South Florida Water Management District.
Only water district in the state, excuse me.
There you go.
It is more pervious than grass.
Right. Oh, we have a drainage system.
Wow. Okay, they need to get with the times. I don't mind being on the public record for that. Michael Guida.
Hi there. On page 6 of the change order, it talks about a credit being given for the original sod and irrigation system. Do we know what that amount is? Was that a separate credit taken out of the contract somewhere else, some other date, or is it part of this change order?
It's on page 10. Just scroll down a little bit to page 10.
You know the specific page number, Don?
Yes, right there at the bottom of that. Keep going a little, right there. Can you see that, Michael? It says credit at the bottom for natural field work. Is that what your question?
Yeah, for the natural field work. So that's in there? Okay.
Yeah.
Right at the bottom of the page that you should be seeing on your screen.
All right, so 231,000. Okay, I see it. All right, so it's subtracted from there. Got it. That's my only question. Thank you.
Any other discussion, comments, questions? Okay, do I have a motion to allow this? I need a motion on this action.
Move to move forward to the board.
Okay.
Second.
Second, discussion. All right, Dorothy Polis, please.
David Porter,
Yes.
Frank Simon. Still not there. John Cheshire,
No.
Ken Lassiter. Luke Doctor,
Yes.
Michael Gelfand,
No.
Michael Guida,
Yes.
Sam Shannon,
Yes.
Tom Berger,
Yes.
Chadwick McCoy,
Yes.
Virginia Ferris.
Yes.
Okay, that's 8-2 for Lou's report purposes. Either John or Michael provide commentary for the dissenting opinions.
Sure, I can.
Go ahead.
No field, excuse me, I can. No field bulletin issue, no technical spec. Sole product, sole provider for a $1.4 million project. I was concerned that only one vendor was asked to bid. There was no detailed independent verification of the vendor's price provided to us. There was no cost benefit analysis done and no product review for player safety. And I'm concerned the board is unaware of the costs over natural turf.
Okay. And staff will be coming back on the follow-up
We will.
with that.
With the standard.
With the cost analysis.
Cost analysis, the standards, the study against.
No, I meant even for this. Michael, you had mentioned that AECom had done actual research of the national cost databases. So I think that can be part of Dorothy's follow-up, that we get to see that, which, John, hopefully that would at least resolve one of the comments.
Okay.
The last point was on an ongoing basis, or because we know what the cost difference is between grass and artificial for first cost, because that's the $1.4 million. You're talking about an ongoing basis.
No, I'm talking about this particular item, that the board is aware that this is a increase over $1.2 million increase over natural field is what they're paying for.
I think that's clear from the fact it's a change order, right?
Well,
and the details.
No, if you, my opinion, the board only reads the first page, and let's see what the first page says. It says that change order includes a credit, but it doesn't tell them what the actual cost of artificial turf is. Unless you dig back into that page, you won't see it. So I'm concerned you're not going to see it.
Okay. That resolved FC8, and we had no other items.
Oh, we do have FC9 and
We have FC9 and 10 now.
Mr. Chair, to interrupt, but I mentioned to Dorothy, I've been called for a our Board of Governors Rules Committee meeting on short notice.
Yes.
Presumably, I'm not even worth one body in the seat. You have enough people for a quorum, so unless there's a need for a quick vote, I'm going to take my leave.
Okay, I think we still have a quorum, don't we, Dorothy?
Yes,
we do, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you very much, folks. Take care. Have a good day.
Okay. All right, present FC9 to us as to what we're doing here.
Okay, can we do both of them because they are virtually identical. The dollar values are different, but basically it's a bill of sale for the water and sewer improvements and an easement that has to be signed by the board chair and or the superintendent.
So the district is selling land, or we're buying land?
We're selling equipment, let's say. We built the water line and the sewer lines on our property. We're granting an easement so that the Water Utilities Agency will now run those on our property. They need to be, there is actually no transfer of money. It's a value that's being established. We're establishing that the piping is, I can't read that. With glasses, I still can't read it. Is it 256?
Yeah.
So we put water and sewer lines on our property that are now going to be owned by the
utility company so that they can maintain them.
Right.
And improve the.
So we give them an easement. Now that's going to be an easement on our property.
Yeah.
And so the bill of sale is for the cost that we pay to become their cost?
It's a value.
The value of the property, or the value of the easement?
It's the value of the equipment that's installed inside that easement. Equipment's not the right word.
Okay.
Pipes.
Pipes and amenities.
Okay.
But ultimately, that's their system. They value it.
So in why this is rushed a little bit is because when we do this, then they hand us the water meters and we can open the school. So that's the exchange here.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with this process, but I don't remember us ever having to do this before here.
Neither do I, but according to our research, we apparently have done them before.
There's a board policy on easements. So the staff level can only do temporary easements. So that's why this has to go to the board.
Okay. This is a no dollar transfer of a legal document.
There was research done, and we have apparently taken these to the board in the past. Bill of sale and easement.
So we didn't get multiple bids on this?
Did the work we did.
Yeah, actually installing the work.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is the same for the West Boynton Middle School. Same exact thing, just different dollar values, different type of alignment of easement.
Well, that's what FC9 is
FC9 and FC10 are.
FC9 is for the high school, FC10 is for the middle school. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, do I have a motion to accept FC9 and 10?
I make the motion.
John?
9 and FC10 go
We'll let you have the second.
Second.
All right, any discussion? None? All right, poll is please.
David Porter?
Yes.
Frank Simon?
Yes.
John Cheshire?
Yes.
Ken Lassiter? Lou Doctor?
No.
Michael Gelfand, he's on, sorry. Michael Guida?
Yes.
Sam Shannon?
Yes.
Tom Berger?
Yes.
Patrick McCoy?
Yes.
Virginia Ferris?
Yes.
Okay. Dissenting guard?
Doctor, I guess we have to ask you what your dissenting opinion is.
Sure. No notice or information ever received. This
Okay.
is the first I heard about it.
Okay. Understood. Yep, understood. All right.
We need to go back to FC1 and get the dissenting argument. That was Michael Gelfand.
I think it was
the
overall cost of the.
Yeah, it was the overall cost for the valves without it really being clearly defined. All right, we are down to in progress FCA work.
All right. Okay. Again, as I often say, I will try to be brief, but there is no such thing as a brief Dave Dolan. All right, Dorothy, if you want to start scrolling through these things, we have our updated numbers. Ms. Evans is actually going to give us an update on some of our expenditures because those are the ones reported through March. I think Ms. Evans will have more up-to-date numbers. You can see our participation is still pretty strong as far as our diversity participation. Again, and I remind everybody, this is on the CORC website. So if you want to go down and download this, because I know people always want to see what our upcoming solicitations are, you notice the reds. I believe the reds are the procurement, the continuing services ones. The blues are the ones that are going to be actual RFPs coming up, and there are a bunch coming up in July. You'll see that on the next slide. Sorry, 2 slides from now. This slide is always, you guys like to see what's coming up. We've got Historic Roosevelt. For those of you who are wondering, Historic Roosevelt is Roosevelt full service. But we're referring to it as Historic Roosevelt High School. So we have a two-phase project to improve that site, knock down one of the buildings and renovate a couple of the buildings, including the gymnasium, and build a new primarily adult education facility.
We've got one in August and one in November.
Phase 1 and phase 2.
And phase 1 is demo?
Phase 1 is probably demo and some procurement, because virtually, by the way, we have had FEFBA this week, our FEFBA summer conference. That was one of the big discussion points that was went on yesterday, was explaining to the folks at Department of Education that there are no longer going to be any projects where we can build a project in 12 months and just do one GMP and be done. We have to start months earlier on our procurement in order to be able to get done in time, just because there are so many components that are long lead items now. I think chillers, we've been talking about, 50, 60, 70 weeks out. Generators, switch gear, chillers, things like that. That all are delaying projects. So we've now just gotten to the point where virtually every construction project, new construction project, we're starting 6 months out earlier in order, the tail wagging the dog. We got to buy our equipment before we can even have a GMP in place. So it's a challenge, but that's what we're working towards. You'll also see West Riv and Winbrook modernizations are both coming up in October. As I mentioned, I'm not going to read all these things, but these are a lot of the development projects we're working on. Design, a little bit of stuff going on. Every month there's a little bit going on, but we have a lot of work that is moving through. And as you saw before, we have some solicitations coming up. So in a few months, we'll have even more. I'm not going to go through all of these. These are all of our ongoing facility renewals. You can see quite a number of slides, quite a bit of work.
Is everything that we plan to open on time going to open on time?
So any other questions from No,
that wasn't the right answer.
No, we're our facility renewals are in good shape by and large. We have occasional accidents and problems. We had a water line break that caused some internal damage at one of our high schools that we're working diligently to make sure that we have everything done, repaired, and back to normal before the teachers come back. But
okay.
So you can kind of see some of the photos. I always put these out here just so that you guys get to see that the work that goes on facility renewals, they're not the pretty stuff. Not often pretty stuff. You see stuff hanging from the ceiling and wondering, wow, what's so good about that? Trust me, the school cares about that. When it starts working, that the schools care. Going on. All right. Angel, I don't want to put you on the spot. Would you care to comment on the high school? I know Aaron is here for the middle school because I know both schools are obviously intended to open in August.
Yeah, so we're in the final stages, rushing to get everything completed. We're in undergoing final inspections right now. Final inspections are going well. We've had a couple of hiccups, one with the county, which we resolved recently, and we're able to proceed with the town lane and the driveways to the bus and staff parking. It's going to be tight, but we feel we can do that in time. We're still struggling with AT&T to get us dial tone. They have completed all of their cable runs and fiber optic and splice connections, but we don't have circuit and equipment that we need in the main demarcation room to get a dial tone, and we need that for the state inspection of the elevator. We need that for the fire alarm final. So we're dealing with them on that. So we're anticipating, if all goes well, possibly getting TCO late next week to the following week, and that's putting the school in a crunch to try to get everything ready for the school. By school, I mean the staff, the school-based staff, to get everything ready for the school to open. So we're just scrambling, trying to get it done.
But those are we're highlighting the challenging items. In fact, furniture, a lot of the equipment's all in, it's working.
I apologize.
Cafeteria equipment, media centers.
I apologize for my.
Yeah. No, that's it, but
Construction is well, the school is ready, it will be ready, and furniture is in, everything is moving along. We had our load bank test yesterday, and the generator that passed. Every inspection we've scheduled has passed. So from an inspection standpoint, we're good. We just need to get a couple items resolved so that I can get school personnel in the school, because they have a lot of work, and that's what I'm referring to. They have a lot of work to do to get the school ready and start opening the school for last minute registrations. That always happens, and so forth. So that's what I'm really concerned with right now.
I've been really impressed with the team that you guys have been working with, but Mr. Sanchez sits on that little group with the academics. So it's not just construction guys and they're living in a world all by themselves. They've got the principal, they've got the regional superintendent, Sanchez. You guys are all in that committee meeting. It seems like it's virtually weekly to ensure that all those other things that can happen are happening. So as I say, kudos to the team over there making that happen. But that's why I didn't want it to seem like the things you were concerned about justified, but by and large, the school is going quite well.
Who does, the contractor does final cleaning, or do we have our janitorial staff do?
Both.
Both.
They do final cleaning, but with so many personnel moving in and setting up and so forth, once they move in, custodial takes over and does the final right before the first open. So.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Dorothy, if you want to kind of see I think that's actually an older picture. I think that's the newer picture right there. It looks like we have our second lift on some of that parking lot.
So we got all the parking lot is now paved except for just the drive-through lane.
You can see in the bottom right corner there.
So that's at, these photos are outdated by the day of so much stuff that's going on over there. But the only thing we have to pave is the drive-through lane, and that's scheduled for Monday.
Some great photos, some great pictures. Again, kudos to the architectural team putting together a high school that it looks like a university. It's a phenomenal looking school.
This school is starting with 9th through 11th. Is there a senior class starting here too?
No, I don't think there's a senior class.
No senior class.
No, anyway,
right.
Up to juniors?
Correct.
Juniors. Okay. Okay, our next school to talk about is our West Point Middle School. Aaron, would you care to elaborate? It's like taking a microphone away from him.
Oh, yeah. On a sunnier note. Fantastic. We share in the opportunities for disasters that Angel does, but if all goes well, we will be right on track. But it's looking very well.
Yeah, and I think with West Point, your big challenge right now may be the county with the turn lane and
we buttoned that up some time ago, and
Did you?
we're good. The turn lane itself will be done end of next week.
Yeah.
Close. I mean, we're right at the edge, but it'll be ready in time for school.
If not, you're going to be out there with flags directing traffic.
I actually have MOT certifications. That's fine.
Why does the turn lane have a name?
I think that was on your previous slide.
As the Joe Bruzo road.
Turn lane, yeah, Joe. Bruzo.
Yeah, it's the road is Joe Abruzzo Lane or Avenue. Sorry, Joe Abruzzo Avenue is the road that we're turning it into.
We named it out of meanness.
Probably should have said the Joe Abruzzo Avenue turn lane.
Okay, I was just curious if we were going around naming turn lanes.
Yeah, naming rights to turn lanes. All right.
Yeah,
a new revenue source.
The
new fundraiser.
Yeah, exactly. The relief from a turn lane is worth how much money?
All right, Sam, which turn lane do you want to buy next?
The one going right. To the school.
You can see, and I think these photos are probably a little bit outdated as well. But
bathrooms.
The aerial was
Come on.
3 days ago, but yes, you're right.
Do they have therapists outside the bathrooms that are needed after going to use that?
I mean, if you think it's necessary, we can.
It is. Put it in the budget.
Okay, Grove Park and Malaluka are our next two, and I won't put those two gentlemen through the ringer, but these schools are both ones we talked about that we were going to be opening up in the fall. Grove Park is with Thornton Construction, and it's coming along. We've gotten a lot of the bigger hurdles taken care of. We still have some delivery items. I think is he still here? He's not here. I think we have some delivery items that we're still working on, making sure that we get them in the next couple of weeks, beginning of August.
Dorothy, hold on that picture, please. The two-story wing to the left, is that the addition that was approved? That right there?
No.
No.
The addition is not, it's going to come afterwards.
Oh, it will?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's going
okay.
to have to come afterwards. They can open up without that addition.
Yeah.
Without those
No, I knew that.
7 classrooms or so.
Okay, I thought we were trying to get that done at the same time to be under the kind of the same mobilization cost. So they have to remobilize?
They will.
Well, not the general contractor won't have to remobilize, but the individual subs.
Oh, yeah, because I mean, even like tilt wall guy, he's.
That's why on the tilt wall.
Yeah.
We would have liked to have had the tilt wall panels poured in advance and stacked up against the wall waiting for erection, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. Oh, it is moved along. Yeah. I saw the outside was primed.
Yeah. Outside is prime now. And then the next one is Malaluka. That construction project is with Pearl Construction. Again, same. And I think I've told you guys in the past that I actually try to pit the two of them against each other, James and Judd. So this is they are also moving along quite well, timely. See the two buildings on the bottom, the two standalone buildings are the existing ones that are gutted and renovated in order to stay within cost per student station we talked about. And then the rest is that big horseshoe is is the new building. And James has an advantage because that's the 1-story building, right? Whereas Thornton's construction is a 2-story.
Right.
So, okay, a new one for you. Pine Grove, and not like he doesn't have enough work to do, but this one's actually, I believe it's Angels. Pine Grove just got started. Pine Grove modernization is, we have an adjacent park at I think we've already done the phase 1, the GMP, which allowed the contractor to come in and build a temporary parking lot so that the staff, can actually see it on one of these photos. There on the bottom right-hand side, that's that parking lot right there. That was constructed in the middle of the park.
So is this a tear down rebuild?
It is. It's a 2-phase one. We're tearing down, and Angel, go ahead, give me it, because I know it's tear down a couple buildings, renovate.
Yeah, so the two buildings in the back on the top part of that photo, 2 and 3 are being gutted and remodeled.
Oh, okay.
The existing building 1 up further down right there, that's staying for all of next school year. They're going to operate school while we're doing the addition. The addition is to the right of that. That's a classroom addition with a classroom and custodial and back of house and so forth. And so the schedule is to build that addition and renovate buildings 2 and 3 while school's in session this coming year. And then at the end of the year in August, we move them over to the new addition, the 2 renovated buildings. We knock down that building 1. And in the fall, we build the main parent drive and parking for the school.
So that building 1 that they're in now will be the parking lot. So I say that's why I think it's more like an 18 to 22 month.
Yeah, it's all the way up to the December of 2024. So the school will open in the new addition in August of 24. The parking lot will be completed in December.
So this is in line with the idea of, instead of putting them at holding schools, being able to keep them on campus, make sure that the parent loops or whatnot are just adjusted to accommodate.
The student population helped to do this because we were able to get them into building 1.
All in one.
And all in one with just keeping 3 modulars on site. Some schools don't lend themselves for that.
Correct.
Just seems like a heck of a lot of construction noise that those kids are going to be hearing constantly. And it's right literally up against them. Wow. Are we giving them all earplugs?
All right. This one, I'm going to have my team start changing the name. You all probably know this facility as Delray Full Service. I know we talked about it last month. This is the angular building that somebody said, oh, what's going on? We are referring to this now as Historic Carver High School, because that's what the existing buildings are. I think I think I have these out of order. At the one later on down, there's an aerial photograph of the campus. So we are remodeling the gymnasium, the historic gymnasium right there, and turning it. You can see it's a big open space. We are turning that into more of a common space, a performance space, a meeting space, and there are side rooms. You can see the big jet out on the side. Those are classrooms, and we have a historic museum that'll go, historic artifact museum, if you will, going in one of those spaces.
Is that on schedule? I mean, it seems like it was 2-3 years ago I was on the selection committee for that. I mean, it does feel like a long time ago.
Yeah, we've had some challenges and we're still struggling. This one is an FP&L issue. And I'd love to tell you that, no, we're working well with FP&L, not on this one. So
I got a project with an FPL. No need to comment.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll leave it at that. But no, is it on schedule? No. Is it impacting the operations? No. Okay. The school currently operates in the old historic Carver High School buildings. We call them building 1 and 2. And that's the adult education program. So when we're complete with this work, they will move out of there. And then we've got some other thoughts and plans where it's we'll call it just, I guess we'll refer to it as a phase 2 of what happens at this site, whether we go to renovate the historic buildings or, and there's lots of discussion on that. So that I can't give you anything more than that at this time.
Does this have a completion date, this phase? Or we just, when it happens, it happens?
No. I want to say by the end of the year. What I'm hearing is a lot sooner than that, but I look at the photos and I'm when we go out to the site and you say, really? But so we're anticipating about the end of the year that this should be done. There's our aerial. So you can see in the bottom right corner is the gymnasium. Up in the top center is the new building.
The wacky building.
Yeah, the angular building, we'll say. And we have modular classrooms in there to support that. There were other additional adult education programs that we wanted to add into.
Before you leave this, Mr. Sanchez, we had a quick conversation, I forget, a meeting or two ago, when we first saw photos of what this building looks like. Architecturally, I think it's just very odd. And what we put out there as buildings is our face to the public. And for as long as I've been on CORC, there's never been a committee or anything that I know of that has basically told an architect, no, what are you smoking? No, that's not our image to the public we want. Just a thought for maybe that should be some type of future consideration, that there is kind of a design committee that can critique the designs because we're the client. This is our face to the public.
Is that a motion coming from the CORC, or is that, was it?
We can have it if we want that.
For me to take action on it, I need to have consensus from CORC so I'm not hearing from individual members and take.
Let's put that on the next agenda, Dorothy, please, as a discussion item, because it wasn't on today's agenda, so I don't think we can bring it up today. But let's bring that up as a discussion point, and we can use this one as the example for, is this as far as we want to go for our image? Okay, keep going. Sorry.
All right. I think some of the next ones are our core expansions. And when you asked earlier, are we delayed on projects? Yeah, we're going to have some challenges on these. Core expansions, as many of you know, are expanding the cafeteria, let's say, and or the media center, and or the clinic, based on class size reduction from years ago. We're now in a place where our cafeteria was never designed to accommodate the volume of students that we have in here.
But they didn't have the extra space last school year and they worked okay, so they won't have the extra.
Right, but sometimes we've taken spaces down, making accommodations. So in some cases, they're having to feed students in the classroom. Other cases, we're having to, do some things like that. So
yeah, we've turned in the past, we would turn two unused classrooms into the cafeteria space so that they run through a makeshift line, get their food, and then get moved into the classroom. You're in classroom one for the next 20 minutes, because if you've ever seen, especially in elementary schools, if you've ever seen them, they run them through in 20-minute cycles. It's chaos, but it's amazing how they get it done.
Organized chaos.
Yes.
So are those schools being catered when we don't have full kitchens?
We're working with food service to make sure that they have.
So they're bringing all the food in.
This is all, and it's either being brought in or made somewhere.
and in a couple cases, the kitchen's up and running, but the area where they're trying to eat is not. So that's why we're trying, each one's a little different.
Interesting challenges.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the thing. Those principals are the ones that are most fearful, because they see this as, my school's going to open up and we're not ready. We're gonna pivot as soon as we get that done and get them back running normally. Okay, next one.
So that one looks like it's ready for school, it said. Hope to have.
I said hope. See, I used the word hope in that one. So we are pushing for it. So.
Okay.
Go ahead, next. And minor projects, there's nothing going on there. Dorothy. But we decided to start giving her some slides and some pictures.
I did hear that the first stair was done at Forest Hill. They're moving on to others.
Yes. Yeah, as I said, Dave Dolan doesn't go quickly, does he?
There's a lot of stuff to report on. Any questions for Dave?
No.
All right. Follow-up. We had a follow-up, didn't you, Dorothy?
Did.
Any questions on follow-up? All right, not hearing anybody with questions on follow-up. Next CORC meeting you have, is this the regular scheduled meeting for August 10th?
Oh, we have more.
What do you mean you have more?
We have 5.01.
0.01 sales tax update.
Okay, what do I have, an outdated?
Yeah,
agenda?
this was a late ad.
Oh, okay.
Actually, it's kind of a follow-up, if you will. We had promised you in the past that we were going to talk to you about the sales tax and how, though, Ms. Evans and I refer to this as the $190 million plan.
Oh, right.
We're going to come up with another name somehow better than that. But basically what this is we recognize that many of the projects are coming in a little bit over budget from what they were originally budgeted back in the referendum in 2016. But we've also had some advantages in revenue, higher levels of revenue. So Ms. Evans, are you on?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes,
we can.
please.
Okay. So what I've got here is just a general update on the sales tax, and I'm going to go over the plan that we developed about a year ago, just to make sure everybody remembers it and has seen it. And then I'm going to give you an update as to where we are. So is Dorothy, are you driving?
Yep.
Okay. So the first slide is a summary, and Mr. Porter has seen this many times. This is something we usually show to ISOC, and we hit a benchmark. We have received over $1 billion in revenue from the sales tax at this point. So this is money that was received through June 30. It's earned through April because the money comes in a 2-month lag. So we received over $1 billion versus the projection for this period of time was 810,000. We're at almost 125% up projection. So well in advance of where we thought we would be. I have a bullet regarding the sunset provision. There is a provision in the interlocal agreement in the ordinance that said if we hit 1.35 billion or higher by September 1st of any year, that we would shut the tax down a year early. And I am projecting we will be shutting it down a year early. I mean, lots can happen. If nothing else, over the last few years, we've learned that lots of things can happen between now and then, but I'm pretty confident that we will be shutting it down a year early. So if I look at it and assume no growth whatsoever, will definitely close early. A comment that I'll add to the revenues, we've been coming in well ahead of projection, but the other thing I'm looking at is growth year over year, because the projections, I could almost throw them out the window, if that's what everything is tied to. When I look at year over year growth, we had the lowest year over year growth in the last month than we've seen since the pandemic. We grew this money earned this April versus last April grew at 0.36%. So when you hear about the economy slowing down, we are seeing that in Palm Beach County as well. We had very slow growth this year compared to last year. So I'm hesitant to talk about how much money we think we'll get, because when that trigger hits in September, that means that 1.35 billion we're supposed to have in place would have been earned through June. So when they trigger the sunset provision, we say we're going to shut it down. We still have 6 months of revenue to come after that. We will have more money than was originally projected, but it will shut down a year early. I just don't know how much money extra we're going to have. Moving on to expenses, these are through May 31st. So the expenses, and this is construction along with school buses and the flat panels we bought for IT. It's everything. It's the entire sales tax. We've spent $599, almost $600 million. There's $170 million in open purchase orders. Interest earnings to date, well, this is through May. I don't have June numbers for this yet. 19.5 million. With inflation came higher interest rates in Federal Reserve. So we are benefiting there. We had a line of credit in place that is going to expire in July. And there were fees associated with that. So total fees there of $478,000. That really is netted out of the interest earnings. So we're in really good shape there. So that's just a snapshot of where we're at. Are there any questions with that information? Let's go to the next slide, Dorothy. And this is what we gave to the board.
I do have a question. When
Okay.
you say we shut it down early, who makes that decision?
It's actually in the ordinance. It's very specific as to look at a certain date and how much money was received. Palm Beach County will be the ones that officially notify the Department of Revenue because they're the lead agency. But we talk to them on a regular basis. Somebody from the county is on our oversight committee. I have somebody from my team that's on their finance committee. Somebody from their team is on our budget advisory committee. We're talking with the county on a regular basis, and we all agree that it will trigger the sunset provision. So it's not something that anybody's going to question. With the last sales tax we did years ago, it was not clear. And we learned from that we needed to have some very clear points that's, there's no guessing. So it will know for certain as we get closer to September 2025.
I know a lot of people are getting this money, so that's why I was wondering who makes the call.
It'll come from the county, but I mean, we receive half of it. So it's very easy to see where we know how much money we're supposed to get. And it's very, in the ordinance, it actually says if we hit, and it's 2.7, because it's referring to the entire penny, as opposed to, I'm referencing the half penny here. But once you hit that limit on any year in September 1st, it would trigger a sunset. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so this slide is what we gave to the board. We shared this with the Sales Tax Oversight Committee, and I'm fairly certain I brought this to CORC.
You did.
I just want to reiterate because I'm going to follow up in the next slide with how we're reporting it. So what we did, we recognize, just as all of you do, costs have increased. How are we going to pay for these things as the budgets kept growing? So the revenue side was my part of the contribution. Looking at the sales tax reserves, how much we had in reserves, and this is from June of 2022, the interest earnings at the time, and now it's up to 19 million. Additional revenue that I was projecting we would have with no growth year over year at 122 million. Interest earnings are higher, and the additional revenue I expect will be higher than this. I'm just not comfortable giving you a new number yet. I'm going to live with these numbers for a while. We also went through and took 4 projects that were facility renewal projects that were large and moved them into a different funding source. We're still reporting on them. They're still referendum projects, but we're not funding them with sales tax. That freed up roughly $75 million to deal with cost overruns. And then the facility renewal at Riviera Beach Prep now encompasses the new building for North Tech. And we said that's a significant change. I moved them into a different funding source too. All of those projects we've borrowed for or will be borrowing for. So again, that freed up $89 million of sales tax money. That adds up to $275 million to address shortfalls. And then Dave worked with AECOM and came up with what they thought the estimate would be to deal with cost escalation and to pick up any deferred maintenance that we had skipped over when we were doing the Cool, Safe, Dry, Bright logic. Picking all that up, the estimate was $190 million. And then we had $32 million set aside for construction projects to be funded from the sales tax. And those are the transportation complexes, Inlet Grove. We added some money there in case we needed it, and we will. So that was estimated need was 222 as opposed to the revenue options of 275. So it gives us room to maneuver. So what I'm trying to do for CORC, for ISOC, for me and finance, and just making sure we're where we need to be, I'm trying to tie back to that $190 million that's at the top right-hand corner to make sure that as contracts are being approved for these facility renewal projects, where are we at in that spending plan? How much have we been spending as these projects are coming in over budget? So Dorothy, if you move to the next slide, I've copied that top part, that 190 million. I just put it here for reference. It's all on the same page. So the 190 million is comprised of 158 sites. Through the June 15th school board meeting, GMPs have been awarded for 11 of those 158 sites. Those 11 projects all needed more funds, but 10 of them came in under the escalated estimates that comprise that 190 million. So they all needed more money, but they came in less than what was projected in the 190 million. So we're using some of it, but not all of it on those projects. Only one of them came in higher than we'd expected. So the 11 projects were expected to increase by 24.6 million. They actually came in with a net increase of 13.6 or 6.8 million less than that escalated budget estimate. So I'm hoping to continue to, well, not hoping, we will be keeping this up. I'm hoping to come up with a better way to present it rather than just giving you bullets, to come up with a format that's a little cleaner. But I know that's something that this committee's been concerned about. They want to make sure that as you're approving increases, that we have a way to pay for them. So right now, we're to the good of 6.8 million. And at the same time, we're awarding contracts. The construction department is going through and closing out older projects. So the first sales tax projects, we've had some of them close out in the last couple of months. So that money also gets added into the bucket that can be used for cost overruns, because when we did the sales tax program at the beginning, we always said some would come in over and some would come in under. So those early projects that got started and completed before we started seeing the significant cost escalation, there's money coming back on those. So that wasn't even in the initial analysis, but it's money that will help deal with cost overruns. So that is my update for all of you. Are there any questions or requests for additional information related to this? I do still want to find a clean and easy way to look at this so that people get used to what it looks like and can see it and update it. But again, there's 11 of them out of the 158. We still have a long way to go.
I think this was a very clean, easy, summarized way to tell us that it's covered.
Right.
And we'll continue to update as was just presented. There'll be some pluses and some minuses. And we're as Ms. Evans refers, we're going to try to come up with a way to explain to you how far we are in the process. Are we 40% of the way done? And have we spent 40% of that extra 190 million, or has that 190 turned into more or less? So we'll come up with a good way to present that, but that's ultimately what we're going to get you.
Yeah, I'd be fine with just this page getting updated, so it's now 15 projects and 20 projects and, how much because to me, this one page just makes it real simple instead of a complicated spreadsheet, but I'll let you handle it.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, I just want the architects and contractors just forget everything that was said in the last.
Yeah, everyone gets very excited when they see there is room to maneuver. But costs are going up at a significant rate. And I know I just watched some of the economic updates, and they say inflation is really slowing down. And we're seeing some slowdown, but the cost escalation that we're seeing in construction projects right now is just insane. And I don't understand how they can be growing as fast as they are. And I know I'm going to be pushing back as hard as I can. This is for the architects and contractors. I don't get it when you see projects go up and you hear of high schools that are increasing, they're doubling in price over a 2-year window. That's insane. So we will be pushing back on that. Reasonable cost escalation due to inflation is what we're trying to address here.
They all have their heads down. They're not looking, not making eye contact or anything. Okay. If are there
anything else for Leanne? Thank you, Leanne.
I have one other one. Potentially, Mr. Sanchez, would you care to?
Let me see what my message says from Mr. Burke. Yeah, we can go. I'll just go with first couple of slides.
Okay. Dorothy, you have the.
What I want to do is just give you guys an update. I wasn't here at the time, but one of you, my CORC members, brought up the fact that we didn't have location as one of the criteria for our selections, and suggested that we need to do that. So we did that. And you see that on the design side, we have 2 points in there for a location. And if you go to the next slide, for the CM selection, we have 2 points in there also for business location as in our selection criteria. And the next slide. So the results over the last, I think, 92 projects or so that we've done is showing this, that Palm Beach County firms are getting on the design side about 47% of the work. Miami firms are getting about 35%, and Broward firms about 6.3% of the work. So it's just the result of that, because that criteria as it is today is awarded to firms that are Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade. All of them get that 2 points. If you're outside of that area, you don't get those 2 points. For construction managers, you see Palm Beach County firms are, and then let me just say this. This is firms that have a substantial office in Palm Beach County. So Palm Beach County firms get 41%, Miami's about 18%, and Broward's about 28%. So just, again, this is just reporting about, what's been going on, because I do hear from architects and contractors every once in a while. They're saying we can get work in Miami. We can't get work in Miami, but they get work here, and we can't get work in Broward, but they do a lot of work here. This is what the numbers are showing. So firms in Palm Beach are getting work. They're not getting 90% of the work, but they are getting some work. So I just wanted to bring that back to you guys, and if you wanted to make some conversations about that, whatever the case may be, but that's all I really want to present.
I mean, what is the goal and the intent? Do we want a higher percentage for Palm Beach County firms?
The goal, the board has not had a set a goal for what percentage it should be Palm Beach or whatever the case may be. It's just the number is what it is, so there's no goal, there's no recommendation from staff at this point. It's just a report of where we are.
I understand that. Does this go to the board for them to decide whether they want to maybe increase the points?
I'll probably share it with them. I haven't done it yet, but yeah.
Because we serve at the direction of the board. So if the board says, yeah, this is fine, we don't need a higher percentage for Palm Beach County, okay, that's what we manage. But if they come back saying, no, we want that over 50% for both of them.
Right, and there's a lot of things that factor into it. What's the capacity of the Palm Beach County firms? What's, are they chasing the work even? Maybe they're busy with other stuff, so there's a lot of factors that go into it, just what the criteria is.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, that's it.
That's it?
For our discussions.
Okay. Date of the next meeting, August 10th. That's the date it was. That didn't change, right, Carthy?
No, it's still August 10th.
Okay, all right.
Perfect.
And anything that
y'all know what that date is, right?
Yes. First day of school? And you guys think you're going to be here?
Yeah, I don't know about the rest of these guys. They're usually at their school.
Yeah.
The morning of opening a school.
And dodging parents with.
They're all giving me the, no, I won't.
With paint guns.
We're gonna be asking them which school they need us at.
Yeah.
James, I claim you.
No questions allowed next meeting.
There you go.
All right, approval of minutes. Anyone with issues on minutes?
My usual comments. If you could bring the minutes up.
Okay, she wants to see the minutes. Okay.
All right, it just at the top, when it says call to order, that which CORC members were present, the numbers aren't accurate with when people showed up. So it's either call to order at 9:05 to include Michael Guida and Ken Lassiter, or if it's 9:01, they don't get counted.
I'm not following you, Virginia.
Well, it says the call to order was 9:01 a.m.
Right.
And CORC members present were 3 in person and 8 virtual. But 3 in person, Michael Guida did not show up till 9:03, not 9:01.
But the next
And virtual, Ken Lassiter did not show up till 9:05, not 9:01.
But the next sentence says that there were 7 members present that represented a quorum at the time the meeting was called to order. So there were 7 members at the time it was called to order, but there were 11 members that attended the meeting.
So it was kind of in reverse order, I guess.
The way I read it is everybody that's up there that doesn't come in at a later time was there at the time the meeting was called to order. And the other 3 ended up coming in after the meeting was called to order, but they were unnecessary to make a quorum count.
Okay, I guess if you just put 7 members represented a quorum at the time the meeting was called to order, and then total CORC members present.
Yeah.
Because it just confused me. Okay, I apologize. Okay.
That it?
I can do that.
That all, Virginia?
That's it. Otherwise, the minutes were very good.
Okay, then minutes are accepted with that comment for future minutes. All right, anything by anyone specific for our next meeting? Dorothy, on the follow-up list we've been keeping running tabs on, has everything been dealt with on that? So we don't have anything to bring forward?
We still have some items that we're continuing to move forward.
Okay. All right. I'm not hearing anything by anyone specifically that we want for staff to bring back to us next month. And I would think their workload light, because between now and next meeting, they're going to be some nutso. All right. If nothing else, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was.
Oh, that's why. Yeah.
That's fine. Because normally, that's right. You and I usually have a conversation.
I would have brought them up.
And I say,
Yeah, I would have brought them up.
and the same thing.
Way to go, buddy.
He said, we promised you that.
Yeah, I'm thinking, wait a minute, it's on the agenda.
And then
It was not fun. 8 hours a day, 8 to 10 hours. It's crazy.
Yeah?
Is it over?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it off. Oh, shit.